The syringe glinted under the harsh fluorescent light of the kitchen. Its needle pointed like an accusation as it rolled from the open drawer toward my bare foot. I froze, heart slamming against my ribs, staring at the clear liquid inside. Enough to end it all, or so my paranoia screamed. Dr. Elena Vasquez's handwriting on the label blurred through my tears. For emergencies only. Trust me, Alex. That was the night I decided to run. Convinced the woman who'd saved me from the streets 6 months ago was now plotting my quiet demise in her pristine Lincoln Park brownstone. Chicago's wind howled like a betrayed lover as I bolted from the back door, the city swallowing me whole in its gray November grip. My name's Alex Rivera, 27 years old, a washed-up graphic designer with a portfolio full of unfulfilled dreams and a bank account echoing emptier than my childhood home in the South Side projects. I'd come to Elena's doorstep half-starved and fully broken after my last gig tanked, blaming it on the market, but really on the bottle I drowned in since my ex, Marco, ghosted me 2 Thanksgivings back. "You're too much drama, Alex," he texted, right before blocking me. Drama. As if loving a man who couldn't love himself back wasn't the real plot twist. Elena had answered my Craigslist ad for a roommate with a single email. Room available in Lincoln Park. No pets, no drama. Rent negotiable for the right fit. The right fit turned out to be her mercy. She was 52, sharp as a scalpel, with salt and pepper hair pulled into a no-nonsense bun and eyes like polished obsidian that saw through your bullshit before you even spoke it. Chief of Oncology at Northwestern Memorial, she moved through life like she was dissecting it, precise, unflinching. Why she'd picked me, a queer kid with tattoos snaking up my arms and a laugh that hid the cracks, I'd never figured out. But she did. Paid half my rent up front. Cooked these killer arroz con pollo dinners that reminded me of my abuela, and never once asked about the bruises on my soul. First, it was paradise. Waking to the smell of her strong Colombian coffee, sketching on her sun-drenched sunroom while she prepped for rounds. We'd talk late into the night, her about miracle recoveries that weren't miracles at all, me about the city that chewed you up and spat you out. "Chicago's like cancer," she'd say, sipping her wine. "It metastasizes if you let it, but cut it out early, and you thrive." I'd nod, mesmerized by her fire, wondering if she saw the tumors in me too. The fear of never being enough, the ache of loving men who ran. Then the headache started. Subtle at first, like a dull throb behind my eyes after her special teas. She'd brew with herbs from her apothecary cabinet. I'd sip them gratefully, chalking the fog to stress, until the nausea hit like a freight train mid-shift at the coffee shop I scraped by at. Blackouts in the bathroom, visions blurring at the edges. One night, I woke up on the tile, vomit staining my shirt, Elena's cool hand on my forehead. "Just a bug, Mijo," she murmured, her voice a lifeline. "Mijo, my boy." The word twisted something deep in my gut, a mix of comfort and suspicion. Who calls a stranger that? That's when I started noticing the vials. Tucked in her medicine bag, labeled in her meticulous script, "Trial serum, confidential. Oncology work," she said. But her glances lingered too long when I coughed, her questions too probing about my family history. My parents died young. Dad in a factory accident, Mom from the Big C, as the neighbors whispered. Breast cancer, stage 4, gone before I hit puberty. Elena never pried. But once, over empanadas, she asked, "Did your mother ever mention a twin?" I laughed it off. Twins? Mom was an only child, raised by wolves in the projects. The syringe was the breaking point. I'd been rifling through the kitchen for Advil, my head pounding like a bass drum, when it tumbled out. Not pain meds, insulin. No, something experimental, glowing faintly under the light. My mind raced to the worst, mercy killing. She pitted the orphan faggot crashing on her couch, decided to end my suffering before I became her burden. Or worse, insurance scam like those Dateline episodes she devoured. I grabbed my duffel, stuffed it with sketches and a change of clothes, and fled into the night. The L train rattled me north to Wrigleyville, where the bars pulsed with Friday energy I couldn't touch. I crashed at a dive called the Blue Line, nursing a whiskey neat that burned less than the betrayal. That's where I met him. Javi Morales, bartender with a smile that could thaw Lake Michigan and forearms inked with roses that bloomed wild across his olive skin. He slid the glass my way without asking, his dark eyes locking on mine like he'd been waiting. Rough night, hermano? On the house. I spilled it all. The paranoia. The vials. Elena's ghost haunting my every breath. Javi listened, leaning on the scarred wood, his laugh low and rumbling when I admitted thinking she was a serial killer in Scrubs. Sounds like a telenovela plot, he said, but his hand brushed mine as he passed the coaster, lingering just enough to spark. By last call, he'd comped me another round and slipped me his number on a napkin. Call if you need a couch, or a confession. I didn't call that night, crumpled in a booth at the back, scrolling Elena's last text. Where are you? We need to talk. I felt the city's pulse sync with my own fractured heart. Javi found me anyway, closing up with a jacket slung over his shoulder, keys jingling. Come on. Let's get you out of here before you turn into a gargoyle. His apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Andersonville, walls plastered with band posters and shelves of dog-eared poetry. Perez, Neruda, the queer saints. He brewed tea. Not herbal, just chamomile, and we talked till dawn, his voice weaving stories of his own scars. Growing up gay in Pilsen, fists from his old man, the drag shows that saved him. By morning, the fog in my head lifted, but so did the guilt. Elena's face haunted me, those eyes that saw too much. I texted her, safe. Back soon. Sorry. No reply. Javi cooked huevos rancheros, his hips swaying to Bad Bunny as he plated it, and for the first time in months, I laughed without forcing it. Your trouble, I said, tracing the rose on his wrist. He grinned, pulling me close. The good kind. Stick around, Alex. Chicago's better with backup. But backup felt like a lie when I returned to the brownstone that afternoon, key shaking in the lock. The place was eerily still, Elena's coat draped over the banister like a shroud. Upstairs, her study door ajar, papers scattered. I pushed in, breath catching at the desk. Photos of me as a kid, pulled from God knows where. My 5th grade graduation, mom's funeral, even that stupid prom pic where I posed with a fake date. Tucked beneath was a file, yellowed with age. Rivera Genetic Study, Elena Vasquez, MD. My knees buckled. Genetic? What the hell? Before I could flip it open, my phone buzzed. Javi. Miss you already. Dinner tonight? Warmth flooded me, chasing the chill. Yeah, I thought. Dinner. And answers. Little did I know, the answers would unravel everything. Love, lies, and a legacy I never asked for. Javi's idea of dinner was street tacos from a truck on Clark Street, scarfed on a bench under the L tracks as snow flurries dusted our shoulders like confetti from a half-hearted winter party. He licked salsa from his thumb, eyes crinkling at my attempt to explain the photos without sounding like a conspiracy theorist. So, your landlady's stalking you? Or is this the part where she turns out to be your long-lost Tia with a treasure map? I swatted his arm, the contact sending a jolt straight to my chest. Easy, electric, the kind of spark that makes you believe in rom-coms again. It's creepy, Javi. And those headaches. What if she's dosing me with something? For research. The words hung heavy, but he just pulled me closer, his breath warm against my temple. Then she's got shitty taste in guinea pigs. You're too pretty to experiment on. We walked back to his place hand in hand, the city lights blurring into a neon haze that matched the buzz in my veins. Andersonville streets were alive with queer energy. Rainbow flags fluttering from brownstones, laughter spilling from the Annoyance Theater. Javi pointed out his favorites. The leather bar with the best jukebox, the bookstore where he'd read his first Lorca in translation. This neighborhood? It's where I stopped hiding, he said, voice softening as we climbed his stoop. Inside, he lit candles. Not the cheesy kind, but beeswax stubs that smelled like honey and home, and put on a playlist of old-school salsa, the kind that makes your hips move without permission. We danced in his tiny living room, clumsy at first, my paranoia melting under his touch. His hands on my waist felt like anchors, steadying the storm I'd carried since Marco. That night, we didn't rush. Just kisses that tasted like lime and promise, whispers about dreams deferred. Javi wanted to open a coffee shop, one with poetry slams and art walls for up-and-comers like me. Your sketches, Alex, they're fire. Raw like the city itself. I believed him, in that hazy space between want and wonder, as we tangled on his couch till the sky lightened gray. But dawn brought Elena's call. Alex, come home. Now. Her tone was steel wrapped in silk, the kind that brooked no argument. I slipped from Javi's arms, leaving a note on his fridge. Family drama. Call you soon. Don't ghost me. The L ride south felt eternal, the brownstone looming like a judge as I let myself in. Elena waited in the kitchen, arms crossed over her scrubs, a mug of that damn tea steaming between us. You think I'd hurt you? She asked, no preamble, her gaze pinning me like a specimen slide. The words tumbled out, vials, headaches, the file. She didn't flinch, just slid the yellow folder across the table. Read it. Then decide if I'm the villain. Pages thick with medical jargon. DNA sequences, lineage charts, a letter from my mother dated weeks before her death. Dearest Elena, it began. If I don't make it, promise you'll watch over him. You're the only family he's got left. The sister I never told him about. Sister. My throat closed like a fist. Elena wasn't just a doctor. She was my aunt, Mom's twin, separated at birth in some Colombian orphanage shuffle, reunited in med school only to lose touch when Mom married young and fled to Chicago. Elena had tracked us down years later, too late for Mom, but not for me. The headaches? Not poison side effects from a genetic trial she was running, one she'd enrolled me in secretly to combat the BRCA mutation we'd both inherited. The same one that stole my mother. I was protecting you, Alex, she said, voice cracking for the first time. From the cancer. From the loneliness I saw in your eyes that first day. I wanted to rage, to hug her, to vanish all at once. Instead, I sat there, the weight of unspoken bloodlines crushing the air from my lungs. Why not tell me? She reached for my hand, her palm calloused from years of scalpels and solace. Because you deserved a fresh start. Not my shadows. We talked for hours, the tea going cold as she unfolded our fractured history. Mom's letters smuggled during chemo, Elena's vigil from afar. The Craigslist ad a deliberate lure. It was mercy, not malice, but the betrayal stung all the same. Trust fractured like thin ice. By evening, I retreated to my room, phone buzzing with Javi's texts. Everything okay? Miss your face. I replied with a heart emoji, too raw for words. The next weeks blurred into a fragile normalcy. Elena backed off the trial, prescribing standard scans instead, her apologies baked into nightly meals. I threw myself into designs for Javi's dream cafe, moody sketches of exposed brick and hanging plants, his logo a stylized coffee bean blooming into a rose. Our dates became ritual. Tuesday tacos, Thursday poetry at the Green Mill, where he'd recite lines that made my skin hum. Te quiero, he'd murmur in the dark of his apartment, the words a balm on wounds I hadn't named, but cracks spiderwebbed beneath the surface. Elena's health faltered, coughs she dismissed as allergies, weight loss she blamed on stress. I'd catch her staring at me during dinner, eyes glassy with something unspoken. And Javi. God, Javi was sunlight, but even he had shadows. Late-night calls he'd take in the bathroom, voice hushed. A tattoo on his ribs I hadn't noticed before, faded script reading para siempre, under a date from 5 years back. X, he said when I asked, but his deflection was a wall I couldn't scale. Winter deepened, Chicago's bite turning brutal, mirroring the chill in my chest. One blizzard night, Elena collapsed in the foyer, her body folding like a secret too heavy to hold. I called 911, rode with her to Northwestern, Javi meeting me in the ER waiting room with coffee and quiet strength. She's family, I whispered, the word foreign yet fitting. Tests came back grim. Stage 3, the irony a cruel punchline. My aunt, the oncologist, felled by her own expertise. As she stabilized, Elena pulled me aside in her hospital bed, for dripping like tears. There's a will, Alex. In the safe. Read it when. If. Her hand trembled in mine. And the boy, Javi. Be careful. Hearts like his. They break easy. I nodded, dismissing it as delirium, but her warning lodged like a thorn. Spring teased with crocuses pushing through concrete when Elena worsened. Hospice at home. Her brownstone transformed into a sanctuary of morphine and memories. Javi was a rock, cooking arepas from his abuela's recipe, reading her Neruda till she dozed. I fell harder each day. The way he'd hum off-key in the shower. The fierce protectiveness when he'd hold me through nightmares of losing her too. We're in this, he'd say, kissing my knuckles. All of us. But betrayal brews in silences. One afternoon, rifling for Elena's pain meds, I found a letter in her desk, addressed to Javi. I know what you did, Javier. For his sake, stay away. My stomach plummeted. What did she know? What had he done? The letter burned a hole in my pocket all evening, its edges crinkling like accusations as Javi stirred pozole on the stove, oblivious or feigning it masterfully. Elena slept upstairs, her breath's shallow hymns to endurance, while I paced the sunroom, sketches forgotten on the drafting table. Javi's laughter from the kitchen, easy, inviting, warred with the dread coiling in my gut. What could my dying aunt know about the man who'd become my harbor? I confronted him after dinner, the words spilling jagged as we washed dishes side by side. Elena wrote you a letter, said to stay away. What the hell, Javi? His sponge stilled under the faucet, suds dripping like unshed tears. The kitchen light cast harsh shadows on his face, etching lines of regret I hadn't seen before. Alex, mierda, I didn't want you finding out like this. He dried his hands, led me to the couch where we'd first confessed our fears over chamomile. The story unraveled slow, each thread pulling tighter around my heart. Javi hadn't just bartended at the Blue Line. He'd worked security there too, bouncing drunks on weekends to fund night classes in business. 6 months back, before we met, I'd stumbled into the bar blackout drunk, fresh off a fight with Marco's ghost and a freelance rejection that gutted me. You were a mess, hermano. Sobbing about your roommate poisoning you, waving around some ad printout, Elena's Craigslist post. I'd ranted to the room, Javi listening from the end of the bar. He'd followed me out that night, not to pray, but to protect. Called Elena from the number on the ad. Told her I was spiraling, needed intervention. She thanked me, Alex. Said she'd handle it. Then, she offered me cash. To keep an eye on you if you showed up again. Plant. My aunt had paid him to watch me, to reel me in when I fled. The tacos, the dances, the te quiero. All scripted? No, Javi swore, eyes pleading. The money stopped after 2 weeks. But you? That was real. From the first real smile you gave me. Betrayal hit like a Chicago gale. Fierce, disorienting, stripping me bare. Elena, puppeteering my paranoia into a safety net. Javi, complicit in the strings. I stormed upstairs, slamming the guest room door, the echo reverberating through the brownstone like a final judgment. Javi's knocks softened to please, then silence. Down the hall, Elena's monitor beeped steady, a metronome to my unraveling. Morning brought no absolution. I avoided Javi's eyes over breakfast. Avocado toast he made anyway, his fingers brushing mine in silent apology. Elena was lucid, propped on pillows with a view of the budding lakefront. You read the letter, she stated, not asked. I nodded, fury bubbling. You paid him to spy on me? After everything, the lies about the trial, the family secret. Her laugh was a rasp, but genuine. Spy? No, mijo. Safeguard. She'd seen me that night at the bar via a tip from a nurse friend, wild-eyed, venomous with suspicion. Knowing her own health clock ticking, she'd outsourced her vigil. Javi was no stranger. She'd treated his sister for leukemia years back, trusted his grit. He was supposed to report if you spiraled. He didn't, because he fell for you harder than I planned. Her eyes, dimming but sharp, held mine. Forgive an old woman her manipulations? I only wanted you safe. Loved. Love. The word twisted the knife deeper. I wanted to hate them both for the web they'd spun, for making my vulnerability their chessboard. But beneath the anger, gratitude flickered, unbidden. Elena's deceptions had pulled me from the abyss. Javi's had bloomed into something true, thorns and all. Still, trust? Shattered like the skyline after a storm. The days blurred into a hospice haze. Nurses gliding like ghosts. Javi's presence a tentative orbit. He'd leave flowers on my desk, notes folded into my sketchpad. I'm sorry. Let me earn it back. I'd crumple them, then smooth them out at night, tracing his script like Braille for redemption. Elena rallied briefly, enough for walks in the postage stamp garden. Her arm looped in mine as we talked legacies. The will, she said one twilight. It's not about money. It's about truth. I pressed, but she waved it off, conserving breath for stories. Of Mom's rebellious youth, their twin telepathy across oceans. Javi and I tiptoed around reconciliation, our touches accidental, brushing elbows over takeout foe, knees knocking under the kitchen table. One night, rain lashing the windows like judgment. He found me in the sunroom, charcoal smudging my fingers as I drew his portrait. Jaw set, eyes stormy with unspoken pleas. That's not fair, he murmured, sliding behind me, chin on my shoulder. You make me look like a hero. His warmth seeped through my shirt, a reminder of what we'd lost. It's not finished, I whispered, the double meaning hanging. He turned me gently, thumb tracing my jaw. Then let me help. No strings this time. Just us. The kiss was tentative, a question. My answer, a yes that deepened into hunger. Not for bodies but souls. We broke apart breathless, foreheads pressed. The rain our only witness. I love you, Alex. Manipulations and all. Forgiveness isn't a switch. It's a slow thaw. But in that moment it started. Elena's decline accelerated like a train off the rails. Pain unmanaged, lucidity fleeting. The night she slipped into coma, Javi and I kept vigil, hands intertwined across her bed. She made me promise, he confessed in the witching hour, voice thick, to love you fierce if she couldn't. I squeezed his fingers, the pieces slotting, not perfect, but whole. She passed at dawn, the room bathed in rose-gold light filtering through lace curtains. Peaceful, they said. To me it was a theft. Another woman gone too soon, leaving echoes in her wake. The funeral was small. Colleagues in crisp suits, a mariachi trio playing Cielito Lindo under drizzling skies at Rose Hill Cemetery. Javi stood beside me, arm a steady weight, as we lowered her into earth that smelled of wet clay and closure. Back at the brownstone, the lawyer arrived post-haste, a bespectacled type named Harlan with a briefcase full of legalese. Ms. Vasquez was explicit. Read in private, Alex. Just you. Javi kissed my temple, retreating to the kitchen with a promise of coffee. I settled in her study, the safe clicking open like a confessional. The will unfolded in her script, pages crisp despite the grief staining them. Assets first. The brownstone deeded to me, stocks enough to fund Javi's cafe twice over, a trust for genetic research in her name. But the heart, letters. One to me sealed with wax. My dearest nephew, twin to my twin. I leave you not gold, but grace. The headaches were my fear manifesting yours. The trial, my hope you'd outlive us both. Forgive the shadows. Embrace the light. And Javi, he's no shadow. He's your mirror. Love him as I loved you. From afar, then all in. Tears blurred the ink. Beneath a codicil, medical records, not just hers but mine, preemptive screenings, clean. She'd beaten the cancer to the punch, her poison a shield. And a final bequest. To Javier Morales, for services rendered and heart given. My gratitude and Alex's hand in marriage, should he ask. I laughed through sobs, the room spinning with revelation. Betrayal transmuted to benevolence, manipulations to masterpieces. Elena hadn't wanted to kill me. She'd willed me life. The safe held one more surprise. A thumb drive, labeled for Alex and Javi, our story. I plugged it into Elena's laptop, the screen flickering to life with her face. Vibrant, pre-illness, hair loose like mom's in old photos. If you're watching this, I've crossed over, she began, smile wry. And you've read the will. Good. Now listen. The video ran 20 minutes. Her voice narrating our tangled lineage. Regrets voiced like prayers. A blessing for the love she'd orchestrated but never owned. You too? You're the remission I chased my whole life. Build something beautiful. For all of us. Javi found me there, head in hands, the playback looping softly. He knelt, wrapping arms around me, his heartbeat a counterpoint to the ache. What now? He whispered. I turned, cupping his face. The face I'd sketched 1,000 times, flaws and fire. Now, we build. Cafe, sketches, maybe a life. His grin broke wide, eyes shining. Yeah, even after. Everything. Kissed him, slow and sure. Especially after. Elena's plot twist. Summer unfurled in Chicago like a long exhale. Lake breezes chasing away winter's ghosts. The city blooming in pride flags and rooftop barbecues. We gutted the brownstone's garden level for Javi's Cafe. Rosa bean. Walls alive with my murals. Vines of roses entwining coffee cups. Hidden hearts in the leaves. Opening night was chaos. Lines snaking down the block. Poets reciting under string lights. Elena's portrait watching from behind the counter. Her smile immortalized in oils. Life wasn't fairy tale. Scars linger. Trust rebuilds brick by brick. Javi's late calls turned out to be AA meetings. His para siempre, tattoo a vow to a lost love who'd overdosed, teaching him the fragility of forever. We'd argue over small things. My tendency to isolate, his overprotectiveness, but make up with walks along the drive, hands laced, watching freighters slice the horizon. Elena's legacy wove through us subtle. Annual screenings. A scholarship fund for queer artists in her and mom's name. I'd catch myself calling Javi mi amor over morning coffee. Her mijo echoing in the warmth. One October evening as leaves carpeted Grant Park in crimson. I proposed. Not with rings, but a sketch. Us on a rooftop, city at our feet. A will fluttering open like wings. Marry me? He said yes with a tackle hug. Laughter bubbling as we rolled in the foliage like kids. Our wedding was quintessentially Chicago. City Hall vows under a brutalist arch. Then a reception at the cafe with tamales and tango lessons. Friends from the bar scene. Elena's nurses toasting. To the doctor who healed us all. No drama, just depth. Speeches that cracked us open. Dances that sealed us shut. Years later, with the cafe franchised to Pilsen and a studio above it for my commissions, I'd reflect on that syringe night. The hook that reeled me home. Elena didn't kill me. She resurrected us. In a city of survivors, we'd become one. Two men, bound by betrayal turned bond. Living the humanism she preached. Love isn't absence of shadows. It's dancing in them, toward the light. And on quiet nights, with Javi's head on my chest and the lake whispering beyond, I'd whisper thanks to the stars. For the doctor who willed me not death, but a story worth telling.